So let's see if the Screencast-O-Matic can capture this audio.
Hello there, Eric here, and today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about culture, namely cultural differences between nationalities, but this can also be applied to culture within corporations, culture leadership, and culture just in between groups of people. And I live in Japan, I'm American, so I'm going to be incorporating my experiences between these two cultures.
Okay, so Hofstede's cultural dimensions covers things like low and high context, masculinity, femininity, and there's 6 different cultural dimensions. So I'd like the students to take notes on what the key concepts are according to Hofstede, and I've done that as an assignment. Next, I'd like the students to actually try to communicate. So I've built a small project I've been developing, a business trip to China. Now, I'm not sure if this is appropriate to the students. Of course, they're imaginary students, adults B1 level, but I would need to tailor it to the students if I knew a little bit more about them. So let's try and go through it. So the first task in this project then are my problems with Hofstede's cultural dimension are that if you actually go and plan a trip, then do you remember whether the students, whether the people you meet come from a high context or low context culture, and what does that actually mean when you meet someone and talk to someone? Does it change how you actually behave? So I wanted the students to reflect on that. And I used the feedback activity for that. So they would have to answer these questions. Chinese people, low or high context. How is this knowledge useful for you? Please reflect on it. Then ask them to write an email to your customer. Student A is a Chinese business person. Student B is themselves. And they have to email their business partner to schedule a meeting and reply and say that you're too busy. Often email exchanges in textbooks are quite simple, but in reality they go back and forward a few times. So I want them to practice writing follow-up emails, using appropriate language for the situation, giving them feedback on it, sentence, paragraph structure, as well as appropriateness. And I wanted to try and use journal entry activity for this. Ideally, I would like them to actually do a real email exchange and then just copy the email exchange into the journal entry. Okay, next task. Talking to a travel agent. So here what I did was I used this textbook and I uploaded an audio file using Poodle from this textbook, simulating Chinese travel agent. How do you get from the airport to downtown is a listening task. And I want them to listen to this and try to answer this question.
If you want to go from the airport to the downtown, you can take the airport express. There are a lot of lines, and maybe one line will go to Xidan, and one line will go to Chaoyang, and a lot of places. So if your hotel is in Tiananmen, you can take the lines. You can take the lines between the airport to Xidan, and you can get down when the bus came to the Tiananmen station, and you can go to your hotel by taxi or by bus, by subway.
So I was trying to simulate an authentic situation for this project, trying to get authentic Chinese accent, and I want the students to peer compare their understanding. And I could add in the transcript as well. Okay, next task is a little bit of skill teaching about understanding phonology. I used an assignment here. I wasn't sure what other kind of activity to use. So this is a small activity to raise awareness of L1 influenced phonetic changes. So the Chinese sentence I've made up was with way to get into city centre. And simplified is what's the best way to get into the city centre? And sorry about my bad Chinese accent there. And it's to get the students to think of the patterns, what kind of sounds are blended or dropped. For example, adding a Y at the start of in, or dropping the T, get into. Gaiyin is more Chinese sounding pronunciation, and then getting the students to try and make their basic sentence and try to make your Chinese pronounced sentence, and you can get the students to read their sentences to each other to make it into a fun activity. It's just awareness raising. Okay. Number 7, video conferencing. I've made this a forum activity. A typhoon has suddenly come, which happens often in Asia, cancelling flights. So please Skype to reschedule the meeting, the business meeting, confirm the main points on the agenda. And I'd like the students to simulate this Skyping with their partner, and to try to record the video conference using Screencast-O-Matic and posting their video as a new discussion item in the forum, and then commenting on someone else's post. That's the idea, anyway. Next task. This one is about turn taking and overlap. I added in these boxes just when I was selecting the font type to try and break it up a little bit, and I wanted to show the different power dynamics in talks, and I've kind of adapted a few transcripts here, and it doesn't come out quite right. The situation is technical knowledge, business situation, so it's not matching the syllabus ideally. I would like to change this situation a little bit, and what I wanted to try and show here is that there's overlap here but I need to adjust that. So they're talking at the same time. These are different speakers here. And yeah, the formatting when I was making that is strange, so I need to adjust it. But it's basically showing that there is overlap, there is hesitation, there is response tokens. So they all work for the same company. So that's showing there's a good relationship. There's not much difference in hierarchy, so there's quite a fluent overlap in turn taking. Whereas in B, the managers are discussing their subordinates, so there's different hierarchy of positions here. There is overlap. Of course, this depends on the culture as well. I've not even mentioned the national culture involved here. Again, that should be overlapping, and my formatting is a little bit strange, but it should be formatting like that. And so the transcript shows that managers didn't monopolize the conversation. There was overlap, but a lack of back channels and hesitations this time because they're showing respect and some distance. But a quite natural turn-taking style. And the last one, equal level managers don't know each other, discussing getting security clearance. And this time it should be showing round table style discussion with still some overlap, showing that it's natural and not so much hesitation. And then getting the students to think about turn taking from their experience, from these examples, and how they feel about overlapping talk when they're talking to someone. Usually, in Japan anyway, they would feel uncomfortable with it, but in the home, they would often, or with their friends, they would often overlap with each other. So it really depends on the context. Okay, moving on. Next task. Small talk and socializing. Start discussion posts, answer these questions. How can you show leadership in a conversation? In a conversation, what kind of things should you do? How can you be sensitive in a conversation? Just discussion. And then imagine you're going out for dinner with their customer again, the simulation. Consider their status. Are they on a similar level, same company, similar age? And then have a small talk with your partner. I'd like them to practice it, then video record it using Flipgrid or Skype, and Screenomatic to capture it, upload it to the forum, and then to consider how successful they were, talking first to help their partner, paraphrasing, more specific questions, making sure everyone's got a turn to talk, summarizing, monitoring, and just being more sensitive, conversationalist, and then repeating this activity, trying to bridge to new small talk topics, and record it again. And then I added in self-assessment. And I'm developing some of these ideas. It's not a finished product. So I wanted them to, this is a questionnaire activity now, just answer, are they intelligible to their partner? This is better if they come from different L1 situations, but not always possible. Do they clarify? They adjust their speech, self-repair, repeat key phrases, paraphrase.